conference is being recorded. Started.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, the Truthful, and the Most Just. May Allah's Salam Alaikum. We are thankful to Allah for allowing us to meet with you once again for congregational prayer service, and to remind you of the importance of the keeping up of prayer and the assembling of yourselves together. The bringing together of any nation of people is one of the ways of life. You notice, this is a lesson in nature itself. As you observe the birth process, it starts with conception. You must first be conceived. You notice the in the Gettysburg Address, Abraham Lincoln stated when speaking at the end of the war, and I assume it was the end of the Civil War, and all of those brothers, Confederacy and Union soldiers, were laying dead. He gave that speech 77 years ago. Our forefathers brought forth to this continent a new nation conceived in liberty. Meaning in the free thinking, in the thoughts of freedom, the idea of freedom was conceived in a nation that would promote freedom. And then they began to come together on that idea. Not break apart, but fought to come together. The Union Army was just that. Those who were fighting for unity against those who were more concerned about wealth and money and only what you call confederacy, collaboration together, but not true unity. And unity won out, and therefore you got the stars and stripes flying over America, based on the idea of liberty and the baneful effects of depriving people of liberty. But the way of life is unity. When you were conceived, that means that the life germ of the man connected and became one with the life germ, with the ovum of the woman. Conception. And then, even though things began to multiply, they didn't just multiply and leave one another. They multiplied and stayed together. And it was called a blastocyst. And that multiplied even more, became thicker, and became a lump of flesh, still composed of many, but from those many came one lump of flesh. E pluribus unum. Do you not see that all of these things that has happened, especially here in America, was God's doing? To bring forth a new nation of Islam, of entire submission to his will. Well, how could that happen? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave me a hint. He said, after all else fails, then comes Islam. That's what he said. I had no clue to the depth of the meaning of that. By the way, uh, God is an acronym, and it means gift of divine. And that's why we say, it's all just falling into place for me now. That it's not enough to just have the truth. We need, in order to be successful, divine truth. All other truths, they keep changing forms, like the matter out there. Matter, just physical water, keeps changing forms. But the scripture says, I am the Lord and I change not, meaning I am not matter, but matter can teach you about me. No matter what form, no matter what form the truth comes in, it's the same. Whether it's written, whether it's spoken, whether it's thought, it's the same. It has not changed. As you would men do unto you, do ye also unto them. That doesn't change just because it's put in uh, writing. When you change water to a gas, or I should say to two gases, you have hydrogen and oxygen. You can't drink hydrogen and you can't drink oxygen. You can be out there in the desert and there's plenty water material around you, but you will die of thirst. But the word of God quenches the thirst, whether it's just the thought, the remembrance of it, or the reading of it, or the speaking of it. It quenches the thirst. I change not. So there is so much that Allah is bringing us into the knowledge of. It's just like what I tell people. Um, the Holy Scripture teaches you that the Son of Man is surrounded by 144,000 angels all of the time, making obeisance. And as they as they minister to me, he called them ministering spirits. Are not the angels ministering spirits? And the words are the spirits. And so they, at some point, I woke up this morning with the understanding that God is the gift of divine. That's what that means. And so it is not that I have to go searching things out. The interaction of all of uh, what did it say salvation is? The gift of God. Well, what is that? The divine gift of divine. and the only one can give you divine gifts is God, is the divine one. Do you understand? You call the messengers of God divine, you see. And that is the ultimate, the highest of knowledge, the pinnacle, the apex, the most high. And there is none like him. And so what did we wind up in America? Allah allowed this to come into being and allowed our minds to try to argue with his. So everybody became devils. And by given the knowledge of how to deceive people to one in particular, and then gave that one dominion, and the sentence of death was passed upon all men. And so all men have sinned, and all have practiced the ways of death and thereby died. And so when you look at the people living their lives, everybody has chosen a way they want to live. And there is a way to live that seems right unto any individual, but the end thereof are the ways of death. It's sad that you can, it's like people being given new cars, and everyone that has a new car eventually wrecks it, and they just keep wrecking it. Well, pretty soon people will get tired of wrecking their cars. You assume they would. And someone may be standing there. God is the one that says, will you let me guide you? I don't need you to guide me. Well, okay, go ahead. You've been doing it your way. What about all these governments that you have? But especially in America, people do their own thing. You got all kind of books written that people offer up for sale like they used to in the Western days. They showed us on TV, recounting how people used to come up with a elixir. Remember Tombstone? Wyatt Earp's woman was hooked on uh, morphine in the bottle. She was drinking it. It was an elixir. Do you have any hops? And she said, "This is for my uh, cold or something." That she made up an excuse for it. Loggers. That was the name of it, but it was hops. And the woman that gave her, she said, "I have a bottle of it." She said, "But you know, it's got hops." You know, she mentioned what it was made of. You know, and so the point is, people have went from selling you that kind of elixir to selling you books, promising uh, that they are miracle cures. There is no substitute for righteousness, but you don't know that. You think righteousness because the devil and tricked you and deceived you about Allah and taught you that Allah is not a man. They have taught you that Allah is some spook sitting out somewhere past Pluto or somewhere. I don't know where he got you going. But anyway, anything to get you out there, get space your mind out, so that knowing that by casting your mind into outer space, that the reality of God and living to according to his will, when in your mind, he's not even a him. Not really. You know, in order to say him, you have to believe that he really is. But y'all don't believe God is. That's why you do things your way. Now, your way is what's been happening on this planet. Your way. For the past 6,000 years, everybody been doing things their own way. In America, that is the order of the day, especially in America. No tyrant. Everybody just free. Do things your own way. Allah wanted to show you something. Excuse me. In all of your ways, what happened? You found peace yet? If you're at peace, why everybody trying to get a gun? I ain't trying to get no gun. And you call me crazy. Because what? I don't think I need protection. Why? Let me say it like this. How many of y'all that's listening that drives a car has auto insurance? I know you wouldn't tell me if you didn't. Because the law dictates that everyone must have insurance. Is that right? So, if someone comes up and say, look, I want to sell you some automotive insurance. You say, I don't need none. Why? Because you already got some, huh? You see, I'm the only one walking around here saying I don't need no protection. Y'all the one go buying guns and stuff and think somebody gonna do something to you. So you think you need protection. And the mere fact you think you need a gun tells the truth where you lying, going to church, talking about you believe in God and all that. You don't believe in God. No, you don't. The gift of divine, if you believed in that, you wouldn't think you need no gun. You'd be like me. Yes. Just be patient. I'll get to those things later. Right now, I have something else y'all need to hear. as we even the question that she just asked me about, yes, Allah is God, but tie your camel. And what that means is Allah is not just spooky. There's nothing spooky. The gift of divine is what teaches you to tie that camel up so he'll be there when you get back. Do you understand? See, when you have divine knowledge, you have the knowledge of how to conduct yourself in having a peaceful life. You can be at peace when you tie that camel. Just like you at peace when you allow God. But when you get out the car, turn the key off, park it, put it in park, turn it off and take the key with you. Then you pretty safe that it's going to be there when you get back. Is that right? So you can be at peace because you followed the truth that set you at peace. Do you understand? Okay. So in as I have said, I know it's many people just not joining into my classes. I'm glad you participating in our prayer service. If you're in here, I'm pretty sure that for the most part it's because you respect me and you respect what I'm teaching, and you're not in here for no mischief. Because even the devil got sense enough not to test God. How many of y'all saw prophecy? Okay, when the first Adam, when the first man of God, that's what that's what Gabriel represented, the first man of God. He got too crazy, and the devil came and got him at the end and said, "No, we don't need but one hell. You belongs to me. You comes with me." And dragged him on off. Huh? There ain't but one devil. You know, is many angels of devils, but ain't but one devil. There ain't but one God. You see, and the devil ain't the enemy to God. He's the enemy of man. Following your devils is what's killing you, because you have not known the way of life, and that's what's being offered to you now, the way to live. You know, but you know so much, as the old saying, you can know too much for your own good. And your biggest problem is you didn't trust the word of Allah, because the word of Allah is not a joke. It's not to be taken uh, uh, as you hear people say, "I'll take it or leave it." You don't want to leave the word of God. Take it or die. Take it or be damned. And for all of your so-called knowledge that you have, you know what it meant to Allah? The wisdom of this world is foolishness. The wisdom of this world is foolishness with God. It's like somebody talking about a giant shrimp. If he's a giant, he ain't no shrimp. A giant shrimp. No such creature. But in the Holy Scriptures, it says, when the Son of Man, I'm trying to save your life. It's not my fault if you don't pay attention. It's your fault. White people, yellow people, brown people. As of now, all of you belong to me. And I'm trying to take care of what belongs to me. Black people. The only way you don't believe that everybody is my people is that you don't believe I'm the Son of Man, and you don't believe that the Son of Man is the Lord, and you don't believe that the earth belongs to the Lord and the fullness thereof, the world, and they that dwell therein. If the world didn't belong to me, I would not have jurisdiction over it to judge it. You notice the Mr. Mueller and them charged some Russians with crime. But they sent them back to Russia. And they need Russia's permission, I assume, to charge them, to uh, expedite them, and Russia not going to expedite them. Now, if you think you can go over there and take them, you can try. I mean, that's the way nations do. When nations have ambassadors and things, they have an agreement that their ambassadors and stuff have diplomatic immunity. Now, if they do something that's, except under certain circumstances, and even then, they tell you send my ambassador home. Huh? We'll determine whether or not he needs to be punished or whatever. No, don't you do it. Huh? So likewise, if I didn't have jurisdiction, I couldn't judge the people of the earth. So the scripture says the earth belonged to me. The messenger told me that. He said the earth belonged to you. He said it didn't belong to you. Let us make man in our image after our likeness and let them own it. Let them have dominion over the fowl of the air and the fish of the sea and over the cattle and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, over the earth and everything that creepeth upon it. Then he told them, now 6 days shall you labor and do all what you please, do all your work. But the Sabbath day shall be a holy day unto the Lord. You notice, the book says, I am the Lord. I shall work, and who shall let it? You ain't letting me do nothing. Just the thought in your brain of coming up thinking you're going to stop me, going to get you in trouble. Now, don't say you wasn't warned. But as the book says, when the Son of Man shall come in his glory, in his temple. That's like saying when the electricity shall come in his glory, into the light bulb, into the computer. The electricity is all and in all that needs electrical stuff to make it work. The electricity is all and in all. I didn't hear you. If you don't believe it, your television, your computer, everything you have, when a blackout happens, it all go dead at once. Then you understand that the electricity is actually the power. So the scripture says that when the Son shall say all things is under him, talking to this son of perdition here, then it will be, he will discover that it's with the exception of him who put all things under him. The mind that put all things under him, that didn't come from him. That came from us. And he is not able to control that mind. That's why it always destroys him after he gets through, like fire. We created him of the nature of fire. Once fire done destroyed everything else, then it burns itself out. When we say to hell, or they fill, or you fill up, we say to fire, or you fill up, and it be dying. Say, is there any more? any more? Any more to burn? Fire never says it's enough. That's just another way of saying when we say to fire, or when we say to hell, art thou filled up, that's another way of saying it's like fire. Fire never says it is enough. It's just, are there any more? And so you have been following your own ways. Look at all these religions you have. In Isaiah, he didn't leave out. You notice, all of the messengers of God taught one thing: submission to God. Well, that is to say, Islam. Abraham probably never heard the word Islam. But whatever God told him to do, he trusted God and submitted. That is Islam. So, people have partially submitted to what God wanted as long as it was in accord with something that they wanted to do. But that's not what he was after. He wanted people to trust him regardless, and told you that if you don't trust him regardless, you won't be living perpendicular to the plane of the earth. You will be parallel with it by your own guidance. So you've had Christianity with all of its denominations. You know, it's like a dollar. What is a nickel? It's a denomination of a dollar.
Access code accepted. There are 8 participants in the conference. The recording has started.
Hold on.
This service is provided. Access code accepted. There are 20 participants in this conference. This conference is being recorded.
Okay.
Access code accepted. There are 8 participants in the conference. This service is provided by freeconferencing.com. Please enter. Access code accepted. There are 23 participants in this conference. This conference is being recorded.
Just don't worry if I'm gonna assume that it's the rain. But you know, if it's something else, they'll be punished in a little while. Just give it time. Now, where did I leave off? What is a nickel? It's a denomination of a dollar. A dime a quarter, a penny, a half a dollar. You see all them denominations of a dollar? Well, that's the way Christianity is. A Baptist, a Methodist, a Seventh-day Adventist. Let's see here. Okay, are we still in this room? Okay, hold on.
This service access code accepted. There are 8 participants in the conference. The
Okay.
recording has started.
Now the other one dropped.
This service is provided by Free Conference. Access code accepted. There are 23 in this conference. This conference is being recorded.
You all pardon me for one moment here. You know, we always remember something. Even Pharaoh, when God told him, and God was Moses, by the way, when God kept warning him, let my people go. You remember what happened to Pharaoh by the end of it? Now, I know it may have appeared that he was getting away with something, but no, Allah told, he explained to Moses that just by me sending you to him, that's going to harden his heart because he got an ego big as the sun. And he used to be over you. And he can't stand you telling him what to do. So you just go there and tell him. See, now, this was going on inside Moses' head. So you needn't think I don't know what I'm dealing with here. I know exactly what I'm dealing with here. That story was in there. Ain't never been no people in bondage in Egypt. This is the Egypt. And this fool that keep messing with our prayer service, that's the Pharaoh. There's lots of pharaohs out there. And I'm going to pay every one of them what they got coming. Just like it said, they're going to get drowned. You know what happens when you get so much things happen to you that you don't know what to do about it? They say you're drowning in troubles. Huh? Whenever you get into situations that you can't deal with, then the knowledge to deal with it is over your head. You're drowning. Do you understand? Make no mistake. I know exactly what's going on. This fool is the one don't know what's going on. So keep on messing with the phone. Just keep on doing what you're doing. As the book says, nearer and nearer to thee is woe. Huh? You know, so, but anyway, you notice this, the book says in the 25th chapter of Matthew, in the 31st verse, it says, when the Son of Man shall come in his glory and all the holy angels with him, then shall he sit. How many angels with him? What kind of angels? All the holy angels with him. Huh? Now, as I told you, wherever I go, they go with me. Because they are ministering spirits. That's what Hebrews told you. In the first chapter of Hebrews, it says in the 13th verse, But to which of the angels said he at any time, sit on my right hand until I make thine enemies thy footstool? Are they not all ministering spirits? All of them minister to me. That's why I was told to eat the book up. So all of the words that's in the book would be in my brain, steady ministering to me. You say, well, I don't read it too. Well, they ain't ministering to you, though. They don't talk to nobody but the head. I told you, heads talk to heads. That's a truth you can prove every day. It's not that the body ain't there, but the body ain't listening. The head is the one listening. That's how you know who I am. If I'm hearing what they're saying, then I must have ears. What did Jesus say? He that hath ears, let him hear what the Spirit said to the churches. So, like I said, man, you got to be a zip fool to be messing around in here with me in this day when you done been shown that I'm the Lord. You deserve the punishment that you getting. You deserve it. So, as the book says, now you notice the Son of Man, and who gonna all come with him? All the holy angels with him. In the volume of the book, it's all written about me. Go over here to Revelation, the 14th chapter. It says, and I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on the mount of prophecy, on the Mount Zion. Zion is a word which means projection. That's what prophecy is, it's projection. It says, and with him, how many? And all the holy angels with him. So, I told you, you through annoying me. You're going to be punished. Allah let you do it so he can punish you. Low down dog. So we're going to, I needed to explain to you in no uncertain terms that when I stand up here and say, I thank Allah for allowing us to meet with you once again. For it is the truth that I'm speaking that brought you in here. That is Allah. And I thank Allah for allowing us to meet with you once again for congregational prayer service. The book says, be thankful unto him and bless his name. For the Lord is good, his mercy is everlasting, and his truth endures to all generations. Look how long the Holy Bible has endured. Civilizations have rose and fell, but the Holy Scriptures that they had, we got them right here. Governments and peoples shall pass away, but my word shall not pass away. So, you know, oft times it's just like with Noah. They mocked Noah and mocked Noah and mocked him. They talked so crazy to Lot that they decided they was going to attack Lot and do it to him. And then it got done to them. You think they wasn't hollering and screaming and asking for mercy? It's not no mistake. You know, if I hadn't told you that what you from Missouri mean, you wouldn't have never put that together. You notice the word Missouri and misery sound the same. Misery is what happens to people who do not heed warnings. They have to be shown. Then when the chastisement hit them, then it's, oh my God. No, ain't no God, remember? Have mercy. Try to have mercy. You spit in my face. Come into my prayer service, clowning. You deserve hell. And that's where you stay. And it ain't but one way out, and I'm not going to tell you what way it is. Now, so I want all of you to remember, fear Allah. Now all your ways have failed you. Unmute your phone if one of you tell me you done found the way to peace, other than with me. Tell me what way you found the peace. Tell me a new way that ain't been tried already. Tell me a way that you got that y'all ain't tried yet. Well, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad already said it. After all else has failed you, then comes Islam. So don't tell me I'm not on time. You can't even think of nothing that ain't been tried. Y'all done tried everything. So I tell you like that song, James Brown, man. Try me. Try me. What you got to lose? That's what Donald Trump asked. What you got to lose? To try me? You done tried everything else. You tried him, and he got you in hell now. Why don't you give me a try? At least I got a history of not being a snake. I didn't hear you. He had a history of being a snake, and you tried him, thinking that he just wearing a costume. No, that's the real deal. 10,000 lies worth. They done stop counting the lies he telling. So, and let me tell you something. Many people try to walk with their hand in God's hand, and the devil too. That don't work. As the prophets, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told you he go out sometime and white people would greet him, "How you do, Mr. Muhammad?" And he said, "How you do, Mr. Jones?" He said, "And both of us have death in our hearts for each other." If Mr. Jones listened to Mr. Muhammad, then he's going to die as a wicked man and become a righteous Muslim. If Mr. Muhammad listened to Mr. Jones, he's going to die as a righteous man and become a wicked man like Mr. Jones. Both of them got death in their hearts for one another. See, you thought it meant wanting to kill each other, huh? Yeah, I know. Yeah. That's your answer to everything. That's because you have the devil up there. Your answer to everything, if somebody disagree with you, if you don't like them and they be your enemy, blow his brains out. How has that worked so far? You killed Hitler. You killed, at least got him to kill himself or whatever they say he done. And all them German soldiers and whatnot, did you get rid of Nazism? Bullets cannot kill ideas. Only greater ideas can kill ideas lesser than themselves. Just like now. The reason I shut everybody's mouth, that's why everybody's mouth is shut, because the mind that's in me is greater than everybody on this planet. And I know it. I taught him the meaning of his name. I taught you what devil is when you say devil. Who brought you to this state that if I let you start talking, you wouldn't be nobody out there on them streets that could hold an argument against you? Who brought you to that place? When the bread of heaven needed bacon and fed to you, who gave it to you? Just trying to show you that I'm God. You ain't heard no man stand up and tell white folks to shut up, and they do it. I told you he ain't no fool. If he's such a fool, how'd he hold you for 400 years? Got you walking around here still begging him. Am I begging him? I'm talking about what he'll tell you what he gonna do to you. He ain't gonna tell me what he gonna do to me. When I was a child, I spake as a child and understood as a child. But now that I'm a man, I have put away childish things. So this world and its foolishness must go. It has served its purpose. Its purpose was to produce the Son of Man. I'm here now. And I'm offering everybody a chance to save themselves from the devils that have been in charge of you. And the devils that I'm referring to are your evil thoughts. All of your ways are the ways of death. So don't come in here confronting me like you know something. Except you be converted and become as a little child, you shall in no wise enter into the kingdom of heaven. A child knows that he don't know nothing. So you sit yourself there and shut up and pay attention. And let me teach you. I want to teach you. I want to help you. I want us to be brothers and sisters to one another. I want us to be family. I want us to be righteous. We tried wickedness. We know what the end of it is. It's misery and death. Look how miserable the whole world is now. That didn't come from practicing righteousness. It came from practicing your own way. Let's have prayer. Up, 10, hut. Original salute. Ready front. Prayer position. Allah is the greatest. Allah is the greatest. Allah is the greatest. Allah is the greatest. And I bear witness that I know of none who deserves to be served or worshipped beside thee. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, all holy praise is due and be to thee, O Allah, the Lord of the worlds. The Beneficent, the Most Merciful Master of the Day of Requital. Thee do we serve, and thee do we beseech for help. O Allah, please continue to guide us and keep us on the right path and way, the straight path and way of thee and those upon whom thou hast bestowed thy favors, not the crooked paths and ways of Satan and those upon whom thy wrath is or will be brought down, nor the foolish paths and ways of those who go astray or who are led astray, even after they have heard and been given the true understanding of thy holy word and teachings. Truly, I have again turned myself to thee, O Allah, striving to be totally upright, to thee who originated the heavens and the earth, and I am not of the polytheists. Truly my prayers, my sacrifices, my life and my death are all for thee, O Allah, the Lord of the worlds. No associate hast thou, and this am I commanded, and I am of those who submit. O Allah, thou art the King. I know of no God but thee. Thou art my Lord, and I am thy servant. I have been greatly unjust to myself, and I confess my faults and weaknesses. So please grant me and my true followers and family continuous protection against all of our faults and weaknesses. For none grants protection against faults and weaknesses but thee. And guide us to and instill within us the best of moral character and thoughts. For none can guide us to and instill within us the best of moral character and thoughts but thee. And turn us away from and remove from us the evil and indecent moral character and thoughts. For none can turn us away from and remove from us the evil and indecent moral character and thoughts but thee. And O Allah, please continue to guide us among those whom thou hast and wilt guide aright, and preserve and perfect us among those whom thou hast and wilt preserve and perfect, and befriend us among those whom thou hast and wilt befriend, and bless us in whatsoever thou dost grant to us, and deliver us from the evils of what thou hast judged. For surely thou judgest, and there is none that can judge against thee. And surely he whom thou befriendest is not disgraced. And blessed art thou, our Lord, and exalted be thee above that which they set up beside thee. Thou art one, thou begettest not, nor art thou begotten, and there is none like unto thee. And our Lord, please do not punish us if we forget or make a mistake. And our Lord, do not allow to be laid upon us a burden as was laid on those before us. And our Lord, do not allow to be imposed upon us that which we have not the strength to bear. And pardon us, and grant to us thy protection, and have mercy on us, and forgive us. For thou art our protector. So grant us the victory over the unbelieving and disbelieving people, and over the hypocrites and the devils, and especially over the weaknesses and afflictions that lie within each of us, and whereby we have been afflicted. And our Father Allah, in heaven praised is and be thy holy and righteous name. Let thy kingdom come, and thy will be done on the earth, as it is written in the heaven. Give us this day the understanding and hearts that are ever inclined to thy truth and righteousness. And forgive us our trespasses, and help us to forgive those of our brethren who may trespass against us. And leave us not during the times of temptation, but please stand by us and deliver us from all the evils thereof. For thine is the kingdom of the heavens and the earth, and the power and the glory over them are thine forever and ever. Amen, amen, and amen. Hut tent, hut. Original salute. Ready front. You may be seated. I'm going to be as brief as we can in this report. I'm going to read some more of it to you. This is page 252. It says, according to Comey's account of the meeting, once they were alone, when he and the president were finally alone, by the president's order, the president began the conversation by saying, quote, I want to talk about Mike Flynn, end quote. the president stated that Flynn has not done anything wrong in speaking with the Russians, but had now there is your understanding that Donald Trump knew all of them conversations was going on. He was privy to it. Them people wasn't acting on their own. But as he said, the president stated that Flynn had not done anything wrong in speaking with the Russians, but had to be terminated because he had misled the vice president. The conversation turned to the topic of leaks of classified information, but the president returned to Flynn saying, quote, he is a good guy and has been through a lot, end quote. The president stated, quote, I hope you can see your way clear to letting this go, to letting Flynn go. He is a good guy. I hope you can let this go, end quote. Comey agreed that Flynn, quote, is a good guy, end quote, but did not commit to ending the investigation of Flynn. Comey testified under oath that he took the president's statement, quote, as a direction, end quote, because of the president's position and the circumstances of the one-on-one meeting. How else was he supposed to take it? That the president got him alone and then, as good as said, let Flynn go. Huh? All right. Now, Comey, I'm going to read this little section here about the Comey 11/15/17/302 at 10. Comey on the February 14th, 17 memorandum at the hearing. You remember when Comey went in front of the hearing to testify? Hearing on Russian election interference before the Senate Select Intelligence Committee. The 115th Congress, June 8th, 2017. Statement for the record of James B. Comey, former director of the FBI, at 4. Sessions recalled that the president asked to speak to Comey alone and that Sessions was one of the last to leave the room. He described Comey's testimony about the events leading up to the private meeting with the president as, quote, pretty accurate, unquote. Now, here's Sessions saying Comey told the truth. That is what happened. Huh? Then he said, then they say Sessions on 1/17/18/302 at 6. That's where you can find that. Then he said, now, Kushner had no recollection of whether the president asked Comey to stay behind. See how it takes liars. The whole family is a bunch of liars. I assume that's one of the rites of passage to marry in his family. You got to be a good liar. If there can be such a thing. I know the meaning of good. That's why I said if there can be such a thing. I would rather use the term pure liar. Yeah, that's it. But anyway, let's go on down here to the next thing. Shortly after meeting with, we're on page 253. Shortly after meeting with the president, Comey began drafting a memorandum documenting their conversation. Comey also met with his senior leadership team to discuss the president's request, and they agreed not to inform FBI officials working on the Flynn case of the president's statements, so the officials would not be influenced by the request. See how they was trying to keep the investigation strictly unbiased. You understand? That's their job. Then it says, Comey also asked for a meeting with Sessions and requested that Sessions not leave Comey alone with the president again. Sessions knew better. So why you leave me alone with the president like that? You know better. Subtitle 8. The media, this is on page 253, subtitle 8. The media raises questions. Oh yeah, he got it up there. The media raises questions about the president's delay in terminating Flynn. After Flynn was forced to resign, the press raised questions about why the president waited more than 2 weeks after the Department of Justice notified, after the Department of Justice or DOJ notification to remove Flynn, and whether the president had known about Flynn's contacts with Kislyak before the DOJ notification. The press also continued to raise questions about connections between Russia and the president's campaign. On February 15, 2017, the president told reporters, quote, "General Flynn is a wonderful man. I think he's been treated very, very unfairly by the media." Well, for telling on him that he had been meeting with the Russians? Now you see why he said, you know what they should have did? When President Trump said the media is the enemy of the people, somebody should have been smart enough to ask him, the enemy of what people? See, that's how you can take a liar and make him hang himself in his own lies, if you know how. Why do you think they don't come in here to talk to me? I'm not going to run away from his lie. I'm going to follow the trail. See, I already know what you got to do when you're lying, and to prove it, you got to tell a bigger lie. I'll just make him keep telling bigger lies until everybody will see this man is a zip fool. You understand? So, on February 16, 2017, the president held, page 254, the president held a press conference and said that he removed Flynn because Flynn, quote, didn't tell the vice president of the United States the facts, and then he didn't remember. and that just wasn't acceptable to me. Well, that's his public statement. But in private, he had already been talking about how good a man Flynn is. Is that right? And could you just let it go? Huh? All right. The president said he did not direct Flynn to discuss sanctions with Kislyak. And why did he say he didn't do nothing wrong? If he didn't tell Flynn to discuss that, then Flynn was doing things on his own without clearing it through the one who was his boss. Then how come he didn't get outraged about that? The president said he did not direct Flynn to discuss sanctions with Kislyak, but it certainly would have been okay with me if he did. Now he covered himself with Flynn. He's showing Flynn, this is how you lie. Now this is how you do it. I would have directed him to do it if I thought he was doing it. I would have directed him to do it if I thought he wasn't doing it. That's what they said, unless I'm misreading. The president said, let me read it. The president said he did not direct Flynn to discuss sanctions with Kislyak, but it certainly would have been okay with me if he did. I would have directed him to do it if I thought he wasn't doing it. See how he just contradicted himself? He knew it was being done. But he tells a lie to make it look like he didn't know when he was the one directed him to do it in the first place. Then he said, I didn't direct him, but I would have directed him because that's his job. End quote. Double talk. Now you see why the Native American, at least they didn't say they had a word for double talk, but they said the white paleface speak with forked tongue. Double talk. Yeah. Now you see why the scripture referred to you as the serpent. Serpent is a water snake. Where's your brain located? Inside water, ain't it? Okay, well, the serpent is up there. The mind that's in your brain is the one that the scripture called the serpent. Okay. That's it. Any of you that think you want to argue with me about it, you're welcome to come on in here and argue. I will let you do that. It's wrong to make accusations about people. If you're going to charge a man, he have a right to defend himself. I'm not like them. Sit up and talk about somebody behind their back, and then when the person say, hey, man, you said so-and-so about me, I would like to come in and rebut that. Then they say they don't want to talk to you. Well, if you don't want to talk to me, then why are you talking about me? And anyway, in enlisting the reasons for terminating Flynn, the president did not say that Flynn had lied to him. The president also denied having any connection to Russia, stating, quote, I have nothing to do with Russia. I told you I have no deals there. I have no anything, end quote. That's a play with words. No, he have nothing to do with what goes on in Russia because Putin is the boss of Russia. You understand? There again, he called himself talking over people's head. You understand? Liars always pride themselves in being the smartest person in the room. Huh? And he was the smartest person in the room till God showed up. The one who made him the smart one. Huh? You notice, ain't none of them coming in here. Come on in. If you want to come in here and talk to me, I'll talk to you. And I'll take every word that you try to lie your way through, and I will use it back on you to show just what a liar and misfit you are. See, you can't do that if you're not a good listener. And most people in this world ain't never been taught to listen. They too rebellious. They think it's beneath them to listen to someone who they deem to be lesser than themselves. The president also said he had nothing to do, quote, had nothing to do with, end quote, WikiLeaks publication of information hacked from the Clinton campaign. He had nothing to do with that. Putin is the one, he was the one interfering, huh? But he said, President, I remember distinctly hearing you, Mr. President, say, you love WikiLeaks. I believe you said we love WikiLeaks. But, you know, I mean, Julian Assange is now, the Department of Justice want him here. They was talking about it on the news. Subtext 9, page 254. The president attempts to have K.T. McFarland create a witness statement denying that he directed Flynn's discussions with Kislyak. Why did he need anybody to create a statement denying that he had directed Flynn's discussions with Kislyak? Why did he need that? He wants somebody else to say it. Okay. See, he making liars out of everybody in the cabinet. Now, you all who don't think that he should be removed, I know why that is. It's because all of you are in it together. Everybody in the Congress that's not saying this man needs to be out of there, they part of the problem. They all in on it. Every one of them that's not ready to remove him from that August office. Has no respect for that office, and thereby have no respect for the nation that created that office. So it says on February 22nd, 2017, Priebus and Bannon told McFarland that the president wanted her to resign as Deputy National Secretary Advisor, but they suggested to her that the administration could make her the ambassador to Singapore. The next day, the president asked Priebus to have McFarland draft an internal email that would confirm that the president did not direct Flynn to call the Russian ambassador about sanctions. Priebus said he told the president he would only direct McFarland to write such a letter if she were comfortable with it. What need was there to be comfortable with it if it was the truth? Do you want to get rid of everybody that got a line that they won't cross? Okay. Priebus said he told the president he would only direct McFarland to write such a letter if she were comfortable with it. Priebus called McFarland into his office to convey the president's request that she memorialize in writing that the president did not direct Flynn to talk to Kislyak. McFarland told Priebus she did not know whether the president had directed Flynn to talk to Kislyak about sanctions, and she declined to say yes or no. Well, if she didn't know, she sure couldn't write no letter saying he didn't. Huh? In other words, the whole way was saying, I can say I don't know whether he did or not. Huh? Which tells you that her understanding was that he did do that. But if she was asked for a fact, did she actually hear him do it? No, she didn't. But everybody pretty much knew that it had been done. You understand? Okay. Unless you're going to call McFarlane a lone actor or a loose cannon. I mean, unless you're going to call Flynn a loose cannon, and Flynn is a general, man. Generals don't just act on their own. Generals take orders from presidents. Anyway, let's go back to that last thing she said. So, and she said she declined to say yes or no to the request. Priebus understood that McFarlane, we're on page 255 now. Priebus understood that McFarlane was not comfortable with the president's request, and he recommended that she talk to attorneys in the White House counsel's office. McFarlane then reached out to Eisenberg. McFarlane told him that she had been fired from her job as Deputy National Security Advisor and offered the ambassadorship in Singapore, but that the president and Priebus wanted a letter from her denying that the president directed Flynn to discuss sanctions with Kislyak. Now he gonna pay her or reward her for lying for him. Is that right? Mm-hmm. Your ambassadorships is up for sale to the highest liar, to whoever's willing to lie the most. Man done made a joke out of your whole government. Eisenberg advised McFarlane not to write the requested letter. As documented by McFarlane in a contemporaneous, quote, memorandum for the record, end quote, that she wrote because this is what she wrote, a memorandum for the record that she wrote because she was concerned by the president's request. Quote, Eisenberg thought the requested email and letter would be a bad idea from my side because the email would be awkward. Why would I be emailing Priebus to make a statement for the record? But it would also be a bad idea for the president because it looked as if my ambassadorial appointment was in some way a quid pro quo. What you mean look like it? That's what it was. Why are you still trying to cover him? They all should have been saying this man ain't got no business being president. But then later that evening, Priebus stopped by McFarlane's office and told her not to write the email and to forget he even mentioned it. This is the people that you had up there and still got some of them up there. The main one, that main crook is still there. Around the same time, the president asked Priebus to reach out to Flynn and let him know that the president still cared about him. Now, don't pay no attention to that stuff you saw me say that. I had to say that to cover myself. But I still care about you now. Getting up there saying he got fired because he lied to the vice president. Priebus called Flynn and said that he was checking in and that Flynn was an American hero. Priebus thought the president did not want Flynn saying bad things about him. On March 31st, 2017, following news that Flynn had offered to testify before the FBI and congressional investigators in exchange for immunity, the president tweeted, quote, Mike Flynn should ask for immunity in that this is a witch hunt. Quote, in parentheses, a witch hunt excuse for big election loss by media and Dems, meaning Democrats, of historic proportions. Witch hunt, huh? So a general is pleading and making plea deals in a witch hunt. Let me tell you something about getting to be a general in the military of the United States. You don't get to be a general by being a coward. You don't get to be a general by somebody being able to buffalo you and fighting you into lying on yourself. You don't get to be that in no branch of the military of the United States. Get to be a general or an admiral in the Navy or any high-ranking officer that answers only to presidents and someone of a higher rank in the general status. You don't get there by being a coward, man. If that was a witch hunt, that general would have been the first one to be telling them, this ain't gonna work on me, mister. That general would have been the first one to say, hey, wait a minute, what y'all call yourself doing, man? You must got your people mixed up. But General Flynn made a plea deal. He pleaded guilty. In late March or early April, this page 256. In late March or early April, the president asked McFarland to pass a message to Flynn telling him the president felt bad for him and that he should stay strong. Now, analysis. This is what this is in analyzing this. It says, in analyzing the president's conduct related to the Flynn investigation, the following evidence is relevant to the elements of obstruction of justice. He's telling you the man is obstructing justice. And the only reason he wasn't charged is because of the Justice Department's agreement that a sitting president cannot be charged. If he's doing things that any other person would be charged for, then that means impeachment. You look like holding your president up to the whole world, but putting him on trial, putting him in jail. He's no longer president. Get him out of there. That's the remedy. So, A, notice, obstructive act. According to Comey's account of his February 14, 2017 meeting in the Oval Office, the president told him, quote, and this is an obstructive act. That's what's written here. So they lied when they said Mr. Mueller didn't charge him. He did charge him. It's right there. He charged him way back there when he was talking about the things that they had been doing, enumerating them. outlining it. A, obstructive act. According to Comey's account of his February 14, 2017 meeting in the Oval Office, the president told him, quote, "I hope you can see your way clear to letting this go, to letting Flynn go. I hope you can let this go." Sound like Grover Norquist, huh? Keep repeating it. Let this go, let this go. End quote. In analyzing whether these statements constitute an obstructive act, a threshold question is whether Comey's account of the interaction is accurate. And if so, whether the president's statements had the tendency to impede the administration of justice by shutting down an inquiry that could result in a grand jury investigation and a criminal charge. If Comey had went for it, that would have impeded it, because he would have stopped it. What is the meaning of obstruct? Is it not to bring a stop to? Huh? Well, why ain't you going? What you stop for? Because I see an obstruction up here in the highway. After Comey's account of the president's request to, quote, "let Flynn go," end quote, became public, the president publicly disputed several aspects of the story. The president told the New York Times that he did not, quote, "shoo off people out of the room," end quote. Say what? Shoo other people out of the room. He didn't say shoo. He told him get out. Didn't nobody say he shooed nobody out of the room, did he? He ordered them out. Play with words again. Just like when they was talking about no collusion. Well, it ain't no collusion. It was a conspiracy. Collusion is not on the books as a crime. Conspiracy is the charge. Huh? All right. The president told the New York Times that he did not, quote, "shoo other people out of the room," end quote. When he talked to Comey, and that he did not remember having a one-on-one conversation with Comey. The president also publicly denied that he had asked Comey to, quote, "let Flynn go," end quote, or otherwise communicated that Comey should drop the investigation of Flynn. Can you imagine how James Comey felt looking at this man stand up there and tell that bold-faced lie? The president also publicly denied that he had asked Comey to, quote, "let Flynn go," or otherwise communicated that Comey should drop the investigation of Flynn. In private, the president denied aspects of Comey's account to White House advisors, but acknowledged to Priebus that he brought Flynn up in the meeting with Comey and stated that Flynn was a good guy. Despite those denials, substantial evidence corroborates Comey's account. The title of that was Obstructive Act. Huh? What do they mean? They got to still get other evidence. The evidence is right here in the investigation. The man obstructed justice. First, Comey, let me see here. Let me make sure we get this right. First, Comey wrote a detailed memorandum of his encounter with the president on the same day it occurred. It was fresh in his mind. That's when you make your notes, while they fresh in your mind. You know, some people, let me tell you something. There's a reason why they make in certain states. Them people got smart. That one person can record their conversation with somebody else without the consent of that person. People lie too much. You'll tell them so-and-so said so. I didn't say that. You done heard them come right in here and lie, and I quote back to them what they just said, and they say, I didn't say that. You can't hardly remember a lie that you tell, because a lie has no root in memory. You made it up on the spot. Asked you about it 5 minutes later, and you said, that's not what I said. So it says, Comey also told the senior FBI officials about the meeting with the president that day, and their recollections of what Comey told them at the time are consistent with Comey's account. You know, most people don't understand what that means. They know, the FBI knows from dealing with this kind of thing, people who tell the truth and people who lie. If you lied, you know why they take depositions in court cases. You have a right to depose all of the witnesses that claim that they are against your client, or the prosecution has a right to depose the witnesses that claim that they are witnesses for the defense. You know why they depose people? Oftentimes 2 months before a hearing, or right at the beginning, you want to depose witnesses. The reason that they want to depose people is because if they are depose the witness and get their testimony in writing and in recorded, if it was the truth, it don't make no difference when the trial is. They're gonna say the same thing. But if they lie, when they get in court, what they say in court gonna be different from what they said in that deposition. It has to be, because you can't remember. That's why they ask you a lot of questions in their depositions, and the questions that they ask you are not all relevant to the case. They ask you a lot of questions, so you won't know what question to remember and which one don't worry about. Do you understand? Didn't take me long to figure out what that was about, because I'm a truthful person. And so when James Comey, when they saw his, when they heard his testimony and compared it to what he told them the day it happened, they knew he was telling the truth. Man didn't have no, I mean, let's face it, James Comey definitely didn't have no dog in the hunt against Donald Trump. James Comey almost single-handedly handed him the election. I mean, I tell somebody Hillary Clinton was under investigation. And Donald Trump was under investigation too, but he didn't say it. Okay. Then, second, Comey provided testimony about the president's request that he, quote, let Flynn go, end quote, under oath in congressional proceedings and in interviews with federal investigators subject to penalties for lying under 18 USC South Section 1001. Comey's recollections of the encounter have remained consistent over time. Donald Trump ain't set up and took the oath to tell the truth yet. And sitting up there talking about he didn't never say that. Well, get it on the oath. No, you ain't gonna get it on the oath. Okay. Third, the objective corroborated circumstances of how the one-on-one meeting came to occur support Comey's description of the event. The objective, meaning stand back and look at it, objective, it's just like when, if you're in the forest, you can't really see the forest because all the trees is in your way. But if you get in a plane, then the forest becomes an object to you because now you're outside of it and you can look at it. Do you understand? So it says the objective, this is the third fact. You heard the second fact. Now this is the third. The objective corroborated circumstances of how the one-on-one meeting came to occur support Comey's description of the event. Comey recalled that the president cleared the room to speak with Comey alone after a Homeland Security briefing in the Oval Office, that Kushner and Sessions lingered, and that Kushner and Sessions lingered and had to be shooed out of the room, out by the president, and that Priebus briefly opened the door during the meeting, prompting the president to wave him away. So the president did shoo a couple of them out of there. He just obviously just waved them off. You understand? And while the president has publicly denied, pardon me, let me see. The president and that, let me see. I want to get back to that part. Comey recalled that the president cleared the room to speak with Comey alone after a Homeland Security briefing in the Oval Office, that Kushner and Sessions lingered and had to be shooed out by the president, and that Priebus briefly opened the door during the meeting, prompting the president to wave him away. While you see, this shows you how observant Comey was. While the president has publicly denied those details, other administration officials who were present have confirmed Comey's account of how he ended up in a one-on-one meeting with the president. And the president acknowledged to Priebus and McGahn that he in fact spoke to Comey about Flynn in their one-on-one meeting. Fourth, this is a fourth fact. The president's decision to clear the room, and in particular to exclude the attorney general from the meeting, signals that the president wanted to be alone with Comey, which is consistent with the delivery of a message of the type that Comey recalls, rather than a more innocuous conversation that could have occurred in the presence of the attorney general. Innocuous meaning just like when you inoculate someone against a thing, when you got witnesses there, then it will do away with somebody saying you did something that was undercover or whatnot. That would have been a better way to do it. The attorney general should have still been in there. That's why Mr. Comey told the attorney general, don't leave me in the room with the president anymore. Sessions didn't say that didn't happen. He said, finally, Comey's reaction to the president's statements is consistent with the president having asked him, quote, let Flynn go, end quote. Comey met with the FBI leadership team, which agreed to keep the president's statements closely held and not to inform the team working on the Flynn investigation so that they would not be influenced by the president's request. Comey also promptly met with the attorney general to ask him not to be left alone with the president again, an account verified by Sessions. FBI Chief of Staff James Rybicki and Jody Hunt, who was then the attorney general's chief of staff. All of them verified that. A second question is whether the president's statements, which were not phrased as a direct order to Comey, could impede or interfere with the FBI's investigation of Flynn. While the president said he, quote, hoped, unquote, Comey could, quote, let Flynn go, end quote, rather than affirmatively directing him to do so, the circumstances of the conversation show that the president was asking Comey to close the FBI's investigation into Flynn. They charging Mueller, and the FBI are charging the president again with obstruction. They talking about they didn't charge him. Yes, they did charge him. Here's the evidence of it. First, the president arranged the meeting with Comey so that they would be alone, and purposely excluded the attorney general, which suggests that the president meant to make a request to Comey that he did not want anyone else to hear. Second, because the president is the head of the executive branch, when he says that, quote, he hopes, end quote. When he says that he, quote, hopes, end quote, a subordinate will do something, it is reasonable to expect that the subordinate will do what the president wants. Indeed, the president repeated a version of, quote, let this go 3 times. And Comey testified that he understood the president's statements as a directive, which is corroborated by the way Comey reacted at the time. Huh? If he didn't think the president was trying to order him to do something that was improper, he wouldn't have been making notes about it, and he wouldn't have went and told people and went to Sessions and said, man, don't be leaving me in there with that man no more like that. And you know Sessions asked him why not, but Sessions already knew why not. Okay, page 258. B. We was already on the A, obstruction, acts of obstruction. B, nexus to a proceeding. to establish a nexus to a proceeding, it would be necessary to show that the president could reasonably foresee and actually contemplated that the investigation of Flynn was likely to lead to a grand jury investigation or prosecution. At the time of the president's one-on-one meeting, well, if he couldn't perceive it, Chris Christie had already warned him that it wasn't over. Huh? Find Flynn ain't it? We're gonna be talking about this by next Valentine's Day. You remember Christie told him that? At the time of the president's one-on-one meeting with Comey, no grand jury subpoenas had been issued as part of the FBI's investigation into Flynn. But Flynn's lies to the FBI violated federal criminal law and resulted in Flynn's prosecution for violating 18 USC and subsection 1001. By the time the president spoke to Comey about Flynn, the DOJ officials had informed McGahn, who informed the president that Flynn's statements to senior White House officials about his accounts with Kislyak were not true, and that Flynn had told the same version of events to the FBI. McGahn also informed the president that Flynn's conduct could violate 18 USC South Section 1001. After the vice president and senior White House officials reviewed the underlying information about Flynn's calls on February 10th, 2017, they believed that Flynn could not have forgotten his conversations with Kislyak and concluded that he had been lying. In addition, the president's instruction to the FBI director to, quote, let Flynn go, end quote, suggests his awareness that Flynn could face criminal exposure for his conduct and was at risk of prosecution. The mere fact he was saying, let him go. Huh? Are we still in the room?
This service is provided in access code accepted. This service was access code accepted. There are participants in this conference. This conference is being recorded.
So the mere fact that he was saying let him go was proof he knew it. He knew it he was in trouble. Okay. C, intent. This is the next thing. What was the intent? As part of our investigation, we examined whether the president had a personal stake in the outcome of an investigation into Flynn. For example, whether the president was aware of Flynn's communications with Kislyak close in time to when they occurred, such that the president knew that Flynn had lied to senior White House officials and that those lies had been passed on to the public. Some evidence suggests that the president knew about the existence and content of Flynn's calls when they occurred, but the evidence is inconclusive and could not be relied upon to establish the president's knowledge. In advance of Flynn's initial call with Kislyak, the president attended a meeting where the sanctions were discussed. And in and an advisor may have mentioned that Flynn was scheduled to talk to Kislyak. And that was in the meeting, the president was in there. Flynn told McFarlane about the substance of his calls with Kislyak and said they may have made a difference in Russia's response. And Flynn recalled talking to Bannon in early January 2017 about how they had successfully, quote, stopped the train on Russia's response, end quote, to the sanctions. It would have been reasonable for Flynn to have wanted the president to know of his communications with Kislyak, because Kislyak told Flynn his request had been received at the highest levels in Russia and that Russia had chosen not to retaliate in response to the request. And the president was pleased by the Russian response, calling it a, quote, great move. He didn't say a surprising move. He didn't say, I wonder why Russia decided not to retaliate or whatnot. Huh? Great move. Huh? They think they playing chess. Anyway, end quote. And the president never said publicly or internally that Flynn had lied to him about the calls with Kislyak. There's your evidence that the president knew. You know, it's always circumstantial. They told you that. Guilty people, you have to, since they ain't gonna confess it, you got to show the circumstances that condemns them. But McFarlane did not recall providing the president-elect with Flynn's readout of his calls with Kislyak. And Flynn does not have a specific recollection of telling the president-elect directly about the calls. Now, Flynn does not have a specific recollection. Now you see why that judge told Flynn, are you going? Is he going to be charged with treason? I mean, he's in the military. Now he's sitting up there talking about he don't recall. Well, he said, and Flynn does not have a specific recollection of telling the president-elect directly about the calls. What is that to say? Even if he didn't tell him directly, he told McFarlane. And McFarlane relayed the information and up the chain. Huh? You know, these people think everybody crazy. Bannon also said he did not recall hearing about the calls from Flynn. He didn't recall hearing about the calls from who? He didn't say he didn't recall hearing about the calls, though. He just don't recall hearing about them from Flynn. Huh? All right. You know, they're putting this over, you know. These people putting this over on the FBI. You see, that's what they're thinking. Yes, what is it?
You felt that in the conference room, yeah?
No, we still in there. Brother Michael would tell me if we wasn't in the conference room.
Somebody else just came on and said they can't hear me.
Just a moment. How come you don't tell me, brother, that we was, which conference room are we out of? The high def? Okay. Y'all hold on.
This service is provided in access code or phone number you have dialed is incorrect. Please check your credentials and try again. Access code accepted. There are 6 participants in the conference.
Okay, you can hear me in there now, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, everybody can hear. All right. We in both rooms, brother? I just entered into the high def. Now, don't tell me. You there?
You're in. This is the high def. You're in.
Okay, everybody can hear me now?
Yes, sir. For the high def room.
Okay, what about the other room? The 432 room. I'll call both of them back.
This service is provided. Access code accepted. There are 29 participants in this conference. This conference is being recorded.
Okay, you all hold on.
Access code accepted. There are 6 participants in the conference. The recording has started.
Okay. It says, and the president never said publicly or internally that Flynn had lied to him about the calls with Kislyak. Says, but McFarland did not recall providing the president-elect with Flynn's readout of his calls with Kislyak. And Flynn does not have a specific recollection of telling the president-elect directly about the calls. You see, he playing with words. No, he didn't tell him directly. He told McFarland, and they passed it buck, passed it on up to him. That Bannon also said he did not recall hearing about the calls from Flynn. And in February 2017, the president asked Flynn what was discussed on the calls and whether he had lied to the vice president, suggesting that he did not already know. Our investigation accordingly did not produce evidence that established that the president knew about Flynn's discussions of sanctions before the Department of Justice notified the White House of those discussions in late January 2017. The evidence also does not establish that Flynn otherwise, this is page 259, possessed information damaging to the president that would give the president a personal incentive to end the FBI's inquiry into Flynn's conduct. Evidence does establish that the president connected the Flynn investigation to the FBI's broader Russia investigation, and that he believed, as he told Christie, that terminating Flynn would end, quote, the whole Russia thing, end quote. Flynn's firing occurring at a time when the media and Congress were raising questions about Russia's interference in the election and whether members of the president's campaign had colluded with Russia. Multiple witnesses recalled that the president viewed the Russia investigations as a challenge to the legitimacy of his election. The president paid careful attention to negative coverage of Flynn and reacted with annoyance and anger when the story broke, disclosing that Flynn had discussed sanctions with Kislyak. Just hours before meeting one-on-one with Comey, the president told Christie that firing Flynn would put an end to the Russia inquiries. And after Christie pushed back, telling the president that firing Flynn would not end the Russia investigation, the president asked Christie to reach out to Comey and convey that the president liked him and he was part of, quote, the team, end quote. That afternoon, the president cleared the room and asked Comey to, quote, let Flynn go, end quote. We also sought evidence relevant to assessing whether the president's direction to Comey was motivated by sympathy towards Flynn. In public statements, the president repeatedly described Flynn as a good person who had been harmed by the Russia investigation, and the president directed advisors to reach out to Flynn to tell him the president, quote, unquote, cared about him and felt bad for him. At the same time, multiple senior advisors, including Bannon, Priebus, and Hicks, said that the president had become unhappy with Flynn well before Flynn was forced to resign, and that the president was frequently irritated with Flynn. Priebus said he believed the president's initial reluctance to fire Flynn stemmed not from personal regard, but from concern about the negative press that would be generated by firing the national security advisor so early in the administration. And Priebus indicated that the president's post-firing expressions of support for Flynn were motivated by the president's desire to keep Flynn from saying negative things about him. The way in which the president communicated the request to Comey also is relevant to understanding the president's intent. When the president first learned about we're on page 259. When the president first learned about the FBI investigation into Flynn, he told McGahn, Bannon, and Priebus not to discuss the matter with anyone else in the White House. The next day, the president invited Comey for a one-on-one dinner against the advice of an aide who recommended that the other White House officials also attend. At the dinner, the president asked Comey for, quote, unquote, loyalty. And at a different point in the conversation, mentioned that Flynn had judgment issues. You remember, when the president met with Comey the day after Flynn's termination, shortly after being told by Christie that firing Flynn would not end the Russia investigation, the president cleared the room, even excluding the attorney general, so that he could again speak to Comey alone. The president's decision to meet one-on-one with Comey contravened the advice of the White House counsel that the president should not communicate directly with the Department of Justice to avoid any appearance of interfering in law enforcement activities. And the president later denied that he cleared the room and asked Comey to, quote, let Flynn go, end quote. A denial that would have been necessary if he believed his request was a proper a denial that would have been unnecessary if he believed his request was a proper exercise of prosecutorial discretion. You see, the mere fact he was cleared the room, and then kept on asking them to let it go. Obstruction, obstruction, obstruction. Huh? Page 260. Finally, the president's effort to have McFarland write an internal email denying that the president had directed Flynn to discuss sanctions with Kislyak highlights the president's concern about being associated with Flynn's conduct. Why do you suppose the president was asking other people to write letters? Because he didn't want to write it himself, because they would have had that against him. That he stood up there and wrote a letter lying about the thing. You notice they say he don't use emails and stuff. He's a liar. Now the man don't want no paper trail about his lies. Do you understand? So he ain't as dumb as you try to, as he tried to make you think he is. And the way he make you think he's dumb is he does things right out in the open that you say any smart person wouldn't do. But that's the best way to hide, is right out in the open. The Holy Quran say the devil is an open devil. He's your open enemy. Yeah, this man is your open enemy. He's the open enemy to this nation. And they ain't got sense enough to recognize it. Okay. The evidence does not establish that the president was trying to have McFarland lie. The president's request, however, was sufficiently irregular that McFarland, who did not know the full extent of Flynn's communications with the president and thus could not make the representation the president wanted. She felt the need to draft an internal memorandum documenting the president's request, and Eisenberg was concerned that the request would look like a quid pro quo in exchange for an ambassadorship. That's exactly what he was offering her. I'm going to let you go from here, but I'll make you an ambassador. But first, I need you to write me a letter. So, I told you page 260, right? Okay. Subtitle C. The president's reaction to public confirmation of the FBI's Russia investigation. The overview. In early March 2017, the president learned that Sessions was considering recusing from the Russia investigation and tried to prevent the recusal. After Sessions announced his recusal on March 2nd, the president expressed anger at Sessions for the decision and then privately asked Sessions to, quote, unquote, unrecuse. On March 20th, 2017, Comey publicly disclosed the existence of the FBI's Russia investigation. In the days that followed, the president contacted Comey and other intelligence agency leaders and asked them to push back publicly on the suggestion that the president had any connection to the Russian election interference effort in order to, quote, lift the cloud, unquote, of the ongoing investigation. What if he could have got Comey or any of the FBI officials to say that, get on the record of saying he didn't have nothing to do with Russia? Then he really could declare that it was a witch hunt. Huh? If they bring him up, right? Yeah. Not so dumb after all, huh? Yeah, but he thought that, I told you the worst thing you can do is underestimate those who you fighting. The FBI done seen people like him before. Don't you see the news media done seen people like him before? They keep showing you Richard Nixon and what happened with him, with his smart self. Huh? All right. Evidence. Subtitle 1. Attorney General Sessions recuses from the Russia investigation. In late February 2017, the Department of Justice began an internal, this is the last page I'm going to read today. We got 6 hours tomorrow, so I can read 30 pages tomorrow and that'll be okay. In late February 2017, the Department of Justice began an internal analysis of whether Sessions should recuse from the Russia investigation based on his role in the 2016 Trump campaign. On March 1st, 2017, the press reported that in his January confirmation hearing to become Attorney General, Senator Sessions had not disclosed 2 meetings he had with Russian Ambassador Kislyak before the presidential election, leading to the congressional calls for Sessions to recuse or for a special counsel to investigate Russia's interference in the presidential election. Also on March 1st, the president called Comey and said he wanted to check in and see how Comey was doing. According to an email Comey sent to his chief of staff after the call, the president, quote, talked about Sessions a bit, end quote, said that he had heard Comey was, quote, doing great, end quote, and said that he hoped Comey would come by to say hello when he was at the White House. I'm going to take this up tomorrow. This is deep. Any questions before I let you all go? Okay, well, we'll put a pin in it there. So may Allah bless us all and keep us safe and in our right minds. And at peace. May Allah's salam alaikum.
This session is your conference recording has stopped.